Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and the topic today, Carolina basketball, specifically the big question, no pun intended, big versus small. Should the Tar Heels stay small with a four-guard lineup, which they've run quite a bit here in the last month, or go big the rest of the way? Start a big four, start three perimeter players instead of four, work guys in off the bench, and go from there. The examples are, for example, Syracuse the other night. The Tar Heels were bigger, and Ian Jackson played the three the entire time he was in the game. Or the Elliott, RJ, Seth, Ian starting lineup, sometimes even with Van Allen Lubin, who's only 6'8". Before I dive into that, very quick reminder, we're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers here on our YouTube channel. And if we do it by the end of basketball season, we're going to give a couple people 2 free years of TarHeelIllustrated.com. Head on over there. If you haven't been over there, that's our site. It's been there for a long time. This is my 11th year as publisher. And you can get a ton of stuff for free over there, but there's also a lot of premium content behind the paywall because it costs to do business. This is what we do. We travel. I got to pay a staff. It costs to do business, and we're trying to grow. So if you don't win, you can still sign up. It's just $8.33 a month for a 1-year subscription, which is $100 a month. Otherwise, you can win 2 free years, which is a great savings. It gives you a chance to involve yourself in everything we do. Our message boards are fantastic, mostly usually respectful. So that's always a big selling point. People tell me to what we do at THI. We got a ton of insight. David Siss stuff on basketball recruiting and analysis of the Tar Heels is second to none. There's nobody better. Nobody better. And you can get most of his stuff by being a premium member, not by not being a premium member if you're just looking for the free content. So we're going to give away to some new subscriber here on our channel 2 free years to THI. All right. Small versus big. I've crunched a lot of numbers lately. And what I've done is I've focused on 2 things. I have a piece running, I believe it's running Wednesday, day of the state game, today, on Jalen Withers. And his numbers when he plays 14 minutes or more, as opposed to what he doesn't. And what the Tar Heels do when he plays 14 minutes or more, as opposed to when he doesn't. I will say they're 8-5 when he does. They're 7-6 when he doesn't. They've played some pretty good teams. All 5 of the losses Carolina has incurred when Withers plays 14 or more minutes against teams currently ranked. And I think their record, I had it written down over here. Pardon me for not putting it in on my notes here. They're 101-26. So those are really good teams. Pretty good teams that they've lost to when he doesn't play 14 or more minutes, because they've lost a lot of good teams. They have 11 losses, so there's a lot of boxes to check there. But more specifically, I'm going to focus on Ian Jackson. We've done this a lot. I've done it a ton in my writing lately, to the point where I bet you a lot of our subscribers can recite the numbers by heart because they've read them so many times. But let's look at Ian's numbers, and then I'm going to kind of tell you guys a little bit about what RJ said at Syracuse after the game when we talked to him about it. And I asked Ian specifically about the shots he gets when they're playing a big lineup versus a small lineup. It was very interesting what he had to say. But here are the numbers very quickly. In a 7-game span, starting with the win over UCLA, Ian Jackson averaged 22.7 points, 60% from the floor he shot, 41% from 3. Then the next 7, the last 6 of which Carolina started a small lineup, but in the first of those 7 games against Stanford, they played a lot of a small lineup that day. And Ian was just kind of out of whack. And then he really got out of whack. In the next 7 games, which was basically small lineup series of games, he averaged only 7.4 points, shot 30% from the floor, around 18% from 3. He also went from averaging 5.7 free throw attempts during the good stretch to just 2 free throw attempts during the bad stretch. So let's go back to Saturday night at the Dome up in Syracuse. He went for 23 points. He was 5 for 10 from 3, and he attempted 6 free throws. He had never once played the 4. He never once just stood in the corner. Now, he was in the corner, but it was a little bit more of a flow. And I think because there was another big on the floor, there wasn't as much help. His open threes he got from both corners, I think he got 2 or 3 in the game. They didn't close out like opponents had been closing out and challenging some of his other three-point shots. Plus, he was able to slash. Plus, he got a floater in there. So his game was different. It was bouncier. He had a lot more vitality in what he was doing because there was more room. He's a slasher. He needs room to move. And if there are 4 dudes on the perimeter, and he's a de facto 4 at times, which he was, Seth was defensively more the 4. Ian was offensively more the 4 in a lot of those games, a lot of the time. He just wasn't going to get the same looks. So I asked Ian, standing outside the locker room at Syracuse, about the shots he gets. I didn't say, hey, do you like playing big or small? Nothing like that. No indictment on anything. Are the shots you get different when there's a 4-guard lineup on the floor as opposed to when you guys go big? He said yes. He was very, very diplomatic in his response and quite frankly showed a lot of maturity in how he handled the questions. Clearly, he's matured and grown in a lot of areas that will help him moving forward. He's done that since the beginning of the season. But he said, yes, shot opportunities are different. I asked him a follow-up about it, and he yielded to Hubert. He said, hey, you got to add HD. I think he thought I was trying to get him to give a vote of confidence to one or the other. If he were to do that, it was pretty clear he favors the bigger lineup, but he didn't do it, and that's where the maturity came from. That's where thinking things through came from, and I was really glad to see him do that because I love to see these kids grow and mature. Of course, I wanted a response where he says yes or no, just because it helps us journalistically, and then we can report to you guys. But there's always RJ. RJ's in his 5th year. RJ's transparent. RJ knows how to deal with us. He doesn't mince words. And I wrote my column a little bit about this, a lot about Ian, but RJ also saying, look, we're better bigger when we play big. So he was asked, big or not? And he says, yes. He laughed, definitely. Play big. Because the shots are different. Not just for Ian, but for RJ and so on. There's just better movement. Defenses have to guard more of the floor. Yeah, they can guard the perimeter, and you're thinking, okay, they're guarding a larger space, but they have to guard interior from the perimeter as well, inside the perimeter. Especially when Jalen Withers is scoring 19 points. Now, he's not going to do that every game. So it helps when he's scoring. It helps when he's active. It helps when a team plays zone, and Jay Witt can get in the middle of that thing and shoot the ball over Eddie Lampkin like he did when that beautiful soft touch shot during an 8-0 Jay Witt run. Or I think that was there. No, it was later on after the run. He had 19, so he had a lot of shots. So I think it's pretty simple. If you look at it, this team is better going big. Now, they've gone big the last 2 games. Hubert Davis says out of necessity. It was a matter of matchups. At Clemson, he started Jalen Withers, who played 6 minutes 2 days earlier against Pitt. He started him to try to battle Ian Shefflin. He also noted, I think it was Jair Davis from Syracuse. He needed another big on the floor because Syracuse is pretty long. Well, State's not that long. They never play their 2 bigs at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see if he sticks with this Wednesday night or if he goes back to being small. If at some point you make the other team adjust. If State's going to be small, maybe make them adjust to you being big. That would make some sense. But Hubert does tweak some things. He'll never really say a whole lot about why certain guys start and some don't, but he has with respect to Jay Witt at the 4. So we'll see what he does Wednesday. But I think they're a better team playing big. You look earlier in the year, the first 7 games of the year, Withers averaged 23, 24 minutes a game, and they almost beat Michigan State, should have beaten them on a neutral floor, led Kansas with a couple of minutes left on the road. And yeah, they were beaten soundly by Auburn, but they weren't humiliated by them. They were humiliated at Duke, which is a comparable team to Auburn, and they were with Withers barely playing. So I think that if you were to take a long view of Withers at 14 plus minutes as opposed to not, they're a better team when he's out there. Not because Jalen Withers is a really good player. He is at times, but I just think it makes the team wholer and it brings the best out of Ian Jackson. And I think the most important thing for this team moving forward, if it's going to do anything with the remainder of his season, is Ian had to be unlocked. He was the other night. Now he has to stay unlocked. Playing big means Ian is more unlocked. And if Ian and RJ are scoring, they have a chance to beat a lot of people. If they get the third score like they did at Syracuse, they could beat a lot of the rest of the teams on the schedule, maybe with the exception of Duke, and they got a fighting chance in Charlotte. So I think this is the best recipe moving forward. Let me know what you guys think. You can disagree. No problem with that. We want to read what you guys say with the comments here underneath the thread. You can comment on Twitter. You can comment on our Facebook page. And, of course, on our site, TarHeelIllustrated.com. Big or small, what do you favor? Let us know. And, by the way, don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're going to give away to a couple people We're going to randomly choose them 2 free years to THI if we hit our goal of 20,000 subscribers by the end of the basketball season. So if you haven't done it, go ahead and do so now. Also hit the notification bell so you get updates every time we upload, and tell all your Tar Heel friends we're here. Tell them to subscribe. They can win 2 free years. Maybe. You never know. You can't win it if you don't subscribe. I'm AJ. We appreciate you stopping by.